From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 15th, 2024. An Israeli police officer was killed today after sustaining critical injuries in a terror attack on a highway just north of the coastal city of Ashdod. Police officers stationed in the area had noticed a man walking along the side of the road and called him over for a security check when he opened fire at them, critically injuring 33-year-old First Sergeant Adir Kadosh and injuring several other motorists in the area. Israel police said that Kadosh bravely engaged with the terrorist. He died of his injuries on the way to the hospital. Here is Israel Police spokesperson Master Sergeant Dean Elsdon with more from the scene today and what was known of the terrorist actions at this time.
We know he approached the highway on foot, shot at the officer, and continued shooting, injuring 4 civilians before being neutralized by an armed civilian. And our deepest thoughts are with the family of this police officer, who is the 68th officer to be killed in defense of our nation, in defense of our families since October 7, 2023.
Rockets and drones continue to be fired at northern Israel today, including at Haifa and the surrounding areas, from terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon. The IDF responding to the Hezbollah attacks hitting terror targets in Lebanon, and today said it eliminated a key figure in Hezbollah's aerial unit in an airstrike just a few days ago. The IDF saying he was the head of one of the northern sectors in the unit responsible for sending unmanned aircraft to Israel, that he oversaw numerous aerial attacks on Israeli civilians and IDF forces using UAVs, surveillance aircraft, and explosive drones. Israel, meanwhile, continues to ask the United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, to temporarily leave the combat area in Lebanon for their own safety. UNIFIL refusing to do so. There have been several incidents of UNIFIL forces being lightly hurt during fighting between Israeli forces and terror group Hezbollah. And the United Nations Security Council yesterday voiced strong concerns about the situation, though they did not single out Israel. On Sunday, UNIFIL accused Israel, saying the IDF, quote-unquote, forcibly entered a UNIFIL position with a tank. The IDF said a tank had backed several meters into a UNIFIL post while it was under fire and attempting to evacuate injured soldiers. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night once again urged UNIFIL to leave the area and rejected any claims of intentional harm.
The charge that Israel deliberately attacked UNIFIL personnel is completely false. It's exactly the opposite. Israel repeatedly asked UNIFIL to get out of harm's way. It repeatedly asked them to temporarily leave the combat zone, which is right next to Israel's border with Lebanon. In fact, on the day that Israel began its ground operation next to our border with Lebanon, we asked them specifically, please leave this area so you're not harmed. Israel has every right to defend itself against Hezbollah and will continue to do so. We regret any harm done to UNIFIL personnel, and the IDF is doing its utmost to prevent such incidents.
The Prime Minister reiterated that Israel is not fighting UNIFIL. It is not fighting the people of Lebanon. It is fighting Iran's proxy Hezbollah, which uses Lebanese territory to attack Israel. The U.S. State Department announced today that it is sanctioning an entity which posed as a Palestinian charity but was in fact funding terror, saying today in coordination with Canada, we are sanctioning the Sami Dune Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network, a sham charity that serves as an international fundraiser for the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP terrorist organization, and said it is designating one of its leaders a member of the PFLP's leadership, stating the United States will continue to disrupt sham organizations that function under the guise of humanitarian organizations while funding terrorism. Israel's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Israel Katz, today hosted the chairman of the United States House Committee on Armed Services, Representative Mike Rogers, and several other members of Congress at his Jerusalem office, saying, "I thanked them for their support of Israel's right to self-defense, and their visit is a testament to the bipartisan backing for Israel's security in the U.S." Katz said, "I told them that now is our opportunity to work together to stop Iran and its proxies who threaten the future and stability of the region." He said, "I emphasize that Israel is committed to bringing back all 101 hostages and destroying the Hamas terror organization in Gaza. We are determined to neutralize the threat posed by Hezbollah in Lebanon and will act wherever necessary in the Middle East to defend Israeli citizens," stressing that Israel has no better ally than the U.S. and the U.S. has no better ally than Israel. Well, the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, the Feast of the Tabernacles, or Feast of Booths as it is called, begins tomorrow, Wednesday evening, and many of the Sukkot, both in Israel and around the world, are decorated a little differently this year, with symbols of hope and prayer for the 101 hostages who still remain captive by Hamas in Gaza now for 375 days. Some also setting aside a seat in the sukkah for the hostages, urging the world not to forget about them and repeating the call to bring them home now. And we will have services for you here on JBS for Sukkot, beginning tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Time from Central Synagogue and from the Hampton Synagogue at 7:30 Eastern, with replays and services through Friday. As always, you can check our website, jbstv.org, for the complete schedule. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, October the 15th at 7 o'clock. Charles Asher Small and David Harris discuss fighting anti-Semitism with Mosab Hassan Yousef, former militant son of a Hamas co-founder who became a Shin Bet agent and Israel advocate. At 8, Justin Pine speaks with Dr. Erica Brown to discuss the holiday of Sukkot and the megillah read on Sukkot of Ecclesiastes, and Dr. Brown reflects on faith after October the 7th. At 9, it's Dan Almagor on L'chaim. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And coming up next, the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, October the 15th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. I will be back with the news on Monday. Wishing you a Chag Sameach. Am Yisrael Chai.